Even though every day around our homestead is different and brings new adventure, in a way, each day sort of takes the same shape. There's always work to be done around the home. Today I started by making a new citrus infusion to freshen up the home. I'm using some fresh squeezed orange, fresh squeezed lemon, and a few whole cloves. Next, I moved on to the unwavering task of making bread. This is a task I complete multiple times a week at this point to keep our family with constant sandwich bread on hand. We made this recipe together last year, and if you haven't yet tried it, it yields the softest, fluffiest sandwich bread. I've helped some friends troubleshoot their bread as they were learning to bake this loaf, and usually the issue comes back to their starter. So if you try out this recipe, be sure to have a mature starter that is very active and bubbly before you begin. I've said it many times, but the quality and finished product of your bread depends so much on a strong starter. So if you're just getting started out, don't rush the growth and maturity of your starter. Give it time. Maybe make some easier recipes like pancakes, tortillas, or flatbreads before moving on to the baked goods that need a good rise like a loaf of bread. Patience is key, and I promise if you keep at it, you can master delicious, fluffy bread as well. I'd like to thank AirTalk for sponsoring today's homemaking inspired video. Part of my daily task as a homemaker is bringing in pieces that benefit our family's health and also the overall cleanliness of our home. I find in the cooler months, when we don't have the windows open as often, letting fresh air stream in, the air in our home can get stale quite quickly. I've been using their large room air purifiers in our bedrooms and living room for a few weeks now, and love that it filters the air we are breathing with their activated carbon HEPA filters. They help to remove airborne contaminants such as pet dander, which we'll actually be chatting more about later in this video, and help to create a more restful environment for sleep and daily life. This air purifier also offers aroma pads so you can create your own infusions or essential oil blends to let your favorite scents surround you as the air purifier is cleaning the air. The diffuser offers multiple hour settings ranging from 2, 4, or 8 hours and has varying levels of speed to clean your air as fast as possible. AirTalk currently has a 50% off special on Amazon, so you can get 2 of these filters for your home. So check the link below to start cleaning the air in your home today. The day prior, I had been attempting to can some broth in my pressure canner, but I could not get my canner up to the pressure that was necessary. After some troubleshooting and much time on the phone with customer service, I found out my vent lock had wiggled loose on my lid, and this is something that can actually happen quite often from the nature of the canning process and the shaking during the pressure canning. After hopefully fixing that problem, I'm running a quick water bath in my canner to see if I can get the pressure back up to the pressure that I need to can at. In the midst of all of this, I'm preparing some lunch for my family. Another really important job as the homemaker is making our meals stretch to fit our budget, as well as keeping my family nourished. I have found that increasing the meal size the night before at our dinner will usually leave me with leftovers to send my husband to work, as well as for the kids and I to enjoy at home the next day. Okay, so this portion of the video is from a follower request, and she asked me how I manage homemaking with kids and dogs. In this part of this video, I'm just going to talk a little bit about homemaking and dogs because it's kind of a random topic, but if you're in that situation and you're like, I really don't know if I want a dog in my house, because I'm the homemaker here, I'm the one that has to keep the kids and manage the dogs, let the dogs out, make sure the dogs don't tear up the house. So I'll just share for a couple minutes here our story about our dogs and answer a few of the questions she had. So she asked, how much work is it in my day with our dogs? And is it manageable with the kids? So it's definitely manageable. Our kids love our dogs. They even more so love them when they're puppies. Now that they're older, they kind of just sit around a lot during the day doing this, except when they're outside. They're pretty hyperactive outside, but in the house, they pretty much just lay around. Our male dog is somewhere around here. They are not much work at all. So they are very manageable with kids. Our kids love the dogs. They play with the dogs. They cuddle with the dogs. They chase the dogs. They're just like having another friend in the house for the kids to play with. It might be a little loud at times with the kids and the dogs, but it's totally manageable. And then she asked, how much more work is it in my day? At this point, it's no extra work. When we go outside to play, they go out with us a couple times a day. I let them out, but they are house trained. They are not any work as far as like potty training, cleaning up accidents. So let me talk about the puppy stage. That is the most work that you will have. The first 6 months, I'd say, is when you're having to crate train them, kennel train them, teach them to go outside. We literally take our dogs outside every 30 minutes to an hour at that young puppy stage. The second thing I would recommend is getting to a good cleaning regimen. If you're a homemaker, you probably already have a cleaning regimen that you do regularly, but when you add a dog into your house, there is a bit more cleaning, a little bit more cleaning that has to be done. Now, our dogs personally shed, but they don't like just shed when you pet them. They kind of shed in little clumps, and I'll just find clumps of dog hair in the corners of the house. To those of you who are like anti-dog in the house, this probably sounds really gross. Growing up, we were not a dog in the house family. I did not have a dog in the house until I was in my 20s, and I had a non-shedding dog. So when my husband and I got married and he had a miniature Aussie, which is what we have now, I was like, wow, we have an inside dog that sheds. My vacuuming has got to increase. So that is one thing you have to increase, is just the vacuuming. Our kids love our dogs. They're, like I said, they're just like another playmate in the house for the kids to play with, and we love them. So that's definitely like a personal opinion if you want dogs in your house or you don't. But I wanted to share that advice because the follower friend of mine asked the question, and anytime you guys ask me a question about anything about our lives or anything you're wondering about, I want to share that topic with you. So never hesitate to leave a comment down below or send me a message on Instagram if you have a specific question that you want me to touch on in any upcoming videos. I'm happy to try my best to include that into my content here, because the things I film, I want to be relevant and interesting and entertaining and helpful to you guys. So after our little chat about homemaking and dogs, I moved into a very busy afternoon of helping my husband on a project and milk preparation. So we are jumping ahead to the next morning where I'm getting ready to bake that sandwich bread we mixed up yesterday. In the wintertime, I let this dough sit out on my counter overnight to proof, whereas in the summer months, if I did this, it will be well overproofed. So in those months, I put it in the fridge to slow down the fermentation process, but it's very cold here right now in the winter, so it sat out all night and it's ready to put it into the loaf pans and get ready to bake. I'm actually going to be baking my bread in a new baking vessel that I have not yet shown y'all here. I first made this bread together last year. I was just using a regular loaf pan. However, the new addition of these Pullman pans creates a more traditional looking loaf of bread for sandwiches, that square shape that many of us grew up eating with store-bought bread. This has made such a lovely change to my sandwich bread, and a change that my family really has preferred. Also, don't ever forget that the bench scraper is such a versatile kitchen tool that is so often overlooked. It can cut your dough beautifully and then just as easily clean up your counters after working with that dough. So I found that my pressure canner was working properly again, so I got back to my homemaking task of putting up broth. My husband has already harvested quite a few deer for us this season, and I'm not letting those bones go to waste. There's so much nutrition to be pulled out and extracted to make bone broth. I make my bone broth in the Instant Pot, then I transfer it to the pressure canner for canning it for long-term shelf storage. The bread is finally ready, and look how beautiful these loaves come out of the Pullman pan. This bread will last us about 5 days, then I'll be back to making another batch. The endless process of bread making is such a beautiful homemaking task that I take a lot of joy in preparing for my family. I usually like to enjoy the first few hot slices either lathered in butter, or today I'm actually going to be making some avocado toast with a soft boiled egg on top. In addition, oftentimes I like to add fresh minced garlic. I've talked so much about garlic on this channel and its medicinal properties for our health, as well as for pregnant mamas. So our family is always including garlic in our diets, either raw, fermented, or cooked into all of our foods. I've enjoyed spending these few days sharing some of my homemaking tasks with you. This job can be mundane, repetitive, and our home is far from perfect. But tomorrow we get the joy of doing it all over again and serving those closest to us in the ways the Lord desires.